Ever had an iPhone screen that just stopped responding to touch out of nowhere? It can be frustrating, but often it is a simple fix. In this video, I'll show you how replacing the screen can solve a touch issue, so you can restore your iPhone's touch function without a hitch. Let's get started. First, test to confirm that the touch function is unresponsive. Press and hold an app to test that each part of the screen is responsive. If the app leaves your finger, that shows that that part is unresponsive. As you can see on mine, once I get below the middle, the app leaves my finger. That shows that my screen is unresponsive on that part and should need a screen replacement. Now we're ready to start disassembling the iPhone. I'll be using a 0.8 pentalobe screwdriver to take out the 2 screws at the bottom of the iPhone. Make sure to keep track of these screws as they're specific to this part of the iPhone. Next, I'll set up my heat plate to 90 degrees Celsius to help loosen the adhesive around the screen. Then I'll lay the phone face down on the heat plate and let it warm up for about 2 minutes. This helps soften the adhesive so we can safely lift the screen. After about 2 minutes and the screen feels warm, I'll apply a bit of 99% rubbing alcohol along the edges. This helps loosen the adhesive holding down the screen even more. Then I'll start at the bottom of the phone with a pry tool, just enough to create a small gap. If it feels tough, don't force it. Apply more rubbing alcohol or heat as needed. Once I've got some space, I'll insert the guitar pick and work my way around the edges. Go slowly, and if you hit a spot with resistance, apply a bit more rubbing alcohol. Continue this process until you can take out the screen safely. Once I get to the top of the screen, I like to raise up the bottom and wiggle back and forth while applying rubbing alcohol. This has helped me take out the top of the screen without any damage. Next, we need to disconnect the flex cables holding down the screen to the motherboard. I'll use a 0.6 tri-point screwdriver to remove the 2 shields covering the flex cables. The first shield has 2 screws, which is holding down the battery and screen flex cables. Take that out first and disconnect the battery. Next, we want to take out the second shield, which is holding down the air speaker flex cable. This has 4 screws. Next, I'll disconnect the screen's flex cables and fully detach the screen. Now I have the screen free. Next, I'll remove the 4 screws holding the ear speaker. I'll be using a 1.5 Phillips screwdriver to take out the top and bottom screws on my right holding down the ear speaker. Then I'll be using a tri-point screwdriver to take out the top and bottom screws holding down the ear speaker on the left side. Next, to loosen the adhesive on the speaker, I'll place the screen back on the heat plate for about 2 minutes. Then I'll apply a little bit of 99% rubbing alcohol to help soften the adhesive. Then I'll gently try to pick out the sensor with a plastic spudger, being gentle with this part to avoid damaging the Face ID sensor. Apply a little bit of 99% rubbing alcohol if needed. You can also place the screen back in the heat plate to help loosen the adhesive. You can continue trying to take it out while the screen is on the heat plate. The key here is patience if you feel resistance. You can stop and apply more rubbing alcohol, or just let the heat do its magic. Next, I'll take a new screen and carefully place the ear speaker in its position. Make sure it's flush, and then I'll secure it with the 4 screws. Now it's time to put everything back together. I'll start by reconnecting the ear speaker's flex cable, then the screen's flex cable, and lastly the battery. Connecting the battery last helps avoid any potential short circuits. Next, we'll put the shields back in place, starting with the ear speaker shield with its 4 screws. This one has a small hook. Make sure it's lined up and hooked before you tighten it down. Then I'll secure the screen and battery shield with the 2 screws. And finally, I'll close the phone, starting from the top of the screen. Make sure the hook's at the top of the line before pressing down. Then work your way to the bottom. Once it's flush, I'll secure the 2 pentalobe screws and turn on the phone for a final test. With the phone on, I'll test the touch function by holding and dragging an app across the screen. Everything feels responsive, so we've successfully restored touch. If you want a step-by-step guide on how to fix the back glass of an iPhone, check the video on the right. And for a full playlist of our repair guides, tap the playlist on the left. I'd love to hear from you in the comments, so let me know if you have any tips or easier methods you've found. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.